Yo, what's good? It's the Sweet Pea. About the ball.
Because our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid.
High fly ball to center field. It's hit pretty well.
These nuts.
Ladies and gentlemen, prep your ears. You are now listening to Grasping the Source on Duquesne Student Radio.
Welcome to Grasping the Source, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, can't speak right now. I'm Casey Chafin, your host, joined by my other host, Dakota Eckenrode. How are you doing, brother?
Good. What's going on, Case?
Not much. We just had an interesting exchange with a lady on the other side of the window. I'm not really sure what she was getting at, but she seemed friendly.
I was honestly really confused there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know where she is now, though.
Whatever she's looking for, I hope she finds it. That's all I gotta say. Because I honestly don't. I'm not even just saying that.
I mean, Casey did give her the. To be honest, though, Casey did give her the finger.
No, yeah, the finger as in I don't know what you want. Oh man, I pointed to the mic. I guess that's the finger you're alluding to.
No, you held up one like you held it like and somebody says like 1 second.
Oh yeah, 1 second.
Casey was like gave her like the 1 second.
I don't know what I did. I'm like she was pointing to the door like literally as we're about to go in the air right here like 20 seconds ago. She points to the door like, "Hey, can you meet me at the door for a second?" Like as if she had a question or something. I'm like, "No."
To be honest, that was the most interesting interaction I've ever had with anybody on the show.
That's
before.
honestly true. That's honestly true.
Usually people just walk by or like people like kind of glance in, but she like legit was standing there staring. And I don't know if she's still outside. I mean, that might be the scarier portion of this.
I don't know, but either way, she'll find whatever she's looking for. Considering we will be in here for the next hour.
She's in a university of the Lord.
University.
That's all she needs.
The Holy Spirit.
She found her way.
Anyway, so pretty big show today. First off, we're going to start the show off by something that's going to be painful and unpleasant for most of us, including especially us in the room. But it's something we need to do, and you know that's true. It's something that needs to be talked about. It must be discussed. That is the Steelers. We're going to talk all things Steelers, Broncos. We're going to look ahead to next season. Hopefully, we can kind of quell our pain by looking ahead to next year. That's what I'm thinking will happen or will be best at least. So, but it's still going to be painful. I think we're all still recovering. It's Thursday.
You have to take the point on this.
I'll take the point on this. I'm not ready, but just by my nature, I'm not ready. But I'm still going to take the point on it because I have to, and someone has to. And then to cure our kind of Steelers hangover, we will talk some lengthy NBA, which we haven't really done all year. I mean, maybe we had one long segment on the NBA. I have quite a few things to say, and you always have stuff to add, as always, so that'll be good. And then I was thinking we rounded out little maybe Republican/Democratic primary talk. We haven't done that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And Penn's Flyers is tonight. I mean, that's happening right now, so I don't know how valid that will be, but I still want to talk about that and where the Penguins stand. So, like I said, Steelers. It was a painful game in Denver. It was. I mean, and going into that game, no one really thought we were going to win that game, myself included. I said we were going to lose by 10. Remember on our show last week, I think we were right about in the same ballpark. So, but man, to be leading the entire game pretty much, I mean, I know we opened up, Denver got 2 quick field goals, but after that, we scored
played
7.
so well.
They played really well the whole game, and for it to end like it did on the Tucson fumble, which you can't blame Tucson. I mean, I can't at least.
The thing is, I never like to let a game come down to an individual play.
No, because it never does.
There were so many times earlier in the game that we should have maybe, capitalized on different downs, maybe some bad throws, maybe some bad catches, whatever, missed tackles. And there was plenty of times like that one play. I mean, to say that it was just on Tucson, and then you could look at the play. It was either before or after that. Remember when Peyton Manning went down to the ground in the backfield, stood back up because nobody downed him, and then threw it, and it was like a 40-yard gain? So things like that.
And you know what? That play, I guess we can't really get too peeved about it because I guess by the book, I guess it was correct. I guess they did the right call.
Yeah, but it's
frustrating. I thought that at first. I'm like, man, that really seems borderline. Like he gave himself up. And I guess by the rule he didn't. But and I saw someone tweet about this, and it's honestly a very valid point. He said, okay, you can say by the rule book he's not down, which that's fair. But if a linebacker, Shazier, would have came
and clobbered him
and rammed him when he was on the ground, I mean, at that point, they'll throw a flag because they'll say Manning gave himself up. He's on the ground. And honestly, as the play progressed, I thought that's what he was doing because we've seen that from Manning many times.
I mean, he's the first person to go down.
You can, stand up here on your manly pulpit and be like, oh, he's a wimp for going down. But in the end, he's probably, in his age, smart for doing that. And
prolonging his career.
And he's done it for so long, it's kind of his thing now, where he just goes down instead of taking the hit. I thought that's what he was doing. It didn't look like a borderline call where you're like, well, maybe they could say he went down. No, it looked like he went down, and then he got up. And obviously, if it's incomplete, we're not talking about it now. But
my thing is, like,
big gain.
When you watch, like, the rule, obviously, especially for quarterbacks, is if they're out in, you're out in open space, and you slide because there's somebody coming in at you.
And he clearly slid forward, knees first. That's what they call a slide. That's why whenever a quarterback's running, if they dive head first, they say he's not protected.
Yeah.
That's why you have to slide with your knees. That's exactly what he
did. It's an automatic. They're automatically down where they slide because so that way you can't do things like that. So that play is frustrating on two levels. On one level, maybe they should have called him down because he intentionally went to the ground to avoid contact. And then on the second level, I think it was Will Allen was a fingertip away from
so
just
close.
nicking the jersey. If he just
got him at all, any molecule of his body would have touched the jersey. He's down there.
So there's a lot of plays we can look on.
The game to me did just come down to a couple really freak plays that are unfortunate, but what are you going to do? That's football. And it's just so frustrating to be, as I said, leading the whole game. And we were both talking earlier, it felt like we had the game in hand at that point.
Right.
Pretty much the whole game, I was already looking ahead to New England. You know what? We're going to have AB back. Maybe Williams will be back. Ben will be fully healthy for New England. Then that's a game. That's something that we could... I almost think the bigger challenge would have been getting past the Broncos this week.
With all the injuries, yeah.
With all the injuries. Therefore, when you look at that, we almost conquered the Broncos with all these injuries. And that's why this is so tough to swallow. It's not just one loss where we got clobbered and you can forget about it with all of our guys healthy.
And I just want to say, I think this is a really interesting aspect to it also is only two times this entire season, including postseason and regular season, has a quarterback thrown for over 250 or over 300 yards against the Broncos. And both times it was by Ben Roethlisberger. And it was this time with a bump, with a completely messed up shoulder and without his best receiver. Obviously, he didn't have he didn't have D'Angelo Williams, which he's a big part of the offense. But I'm just thinking about it. Like, you watched Aaron Rodgers earlier in the season throw for like 70 yards against these Broncos. You watched Tom Brady played against these Broncos, didn't throw for over 300 yards,
which no one makes Tom Brady look stupid.
And Big Ben was doing that with. Everyone's like, oh, the Steelers have look at how dynamic the Steelers' offense is. Look at all these weapons, the receivers. But what I think people a lot of times overlook is, yes, Steelers have some really dynamic weapons on offense when we're fully healthy. But at the end of the day, for a receiver specifically, we're pretty top heavy. I mean, it went. I think Antonio Brown had like 1,850 yards, or I don't know, it was like 15. That was obviously an exaggeration, but it was over 1,500 yards receiving. And the next closest guy was Martavis Bryant with like 750. So it's not like we have two guys that are over 1,200 yard receivers. You have a guy that's like 800. I mean, that's a pretty big drop off after Antonio Brown, to go from Antonio Brown down to Martavis, Wheaton.
Martavis is your number one guy. Wheaton fill in for Bryant.
And Darius Hayward-Bay. And Sammy Coates played really well, which was awesome to see.
That's what I do like, and I'll talk about that a little bit whenever we kind of move toward the positive aspects of this game.
Yeah.
But and one thing I do want to mention too is Ben. I'm just again impressed, and I shouldn't say it surprised me because it really doesn't surprise me. And I don't mean that to discredit him at all. He played a crazy good game, and considering how much pain he had to be in his shoulder, and not even the pain, but the range that affects pain tolerance. But I think it also affects like the range of your shoulder, and clearly he had the range to be able to throw it, but it still limited it somewhat. I love the call to come out right away and throw it deep. Whenever he overthrew, was that Hayward-Bay or was that Wheaton that he overthrew?
I think it was Wheaton.
Okay, yeah. I love that play call to just come out and say, "This is Ben's all right. We got him." And from that point, I felt really good about the game.
I know.
Like, oh man, because that was the thing. Is Ben going to come out and only be able to throw it 15 yards? Then we're in trouble. But whenever we saw that wasn't the case, then I felt really good about the game.